What a great song introduces to this video that's going to talk about Crossroads Christian Fellowship, an organisation that has been around now for over 50 years, reaching out and ministering to those with a disability. Our patron happens to be Keith Suter, and I had a chat with Keith some days ago, and here's what he had to say. Keith, it's a delight to recognise you as our patron. And I thought it would be interesting for others to hear what it was that drew you to become the patron of Crossroads Christian Fellowship.
Yeah, so I'm involved. I have been involved with Wesley Mission since 1976. And Wesley Mission is part of the Sydney contingent of the Crossroads Network. So we run now a monthly video fellowship. We've always, in the Wesley Mission family, had lots of involvements with people with disabilities. And one particular part of it is the bit that is plugged into the Crossroads work. So in a sense, my involvement with Crossroads is part of my involvement with Wesley Mission and the work that it's been doing with people with disabilities. So that began in 1976, and in various forms, I have continued with that association.
Keith, part of our mission statement says that Crossroads affirms people with a disability along with their carers and wants to see them integrated into and accepted by the community and Christian churches. How do you see that we could do that better? And do you think that Crossroads is achieving this vision presently?
Oh, absolutely. I think that if you look back over the long history of churches working with people with disabilities, and it runs back, of course, several centuries. The churches have tended to separate them out quite often, and people with disabilities had separate services. They perhaps were not involved in the weekly church services or fellowship groups, etc. And so what we have seen in the last, say, 40 odd years has been the integration of people with disabilities into the mainstream life of the churches. I was on the government's committee for 1981, the International Year of Disabled Persons, and I can tell you it's a world away from where we were in 1981 in terms of the way in which we treat people with disabilities who used to be hidden away, etc. Now they're much more involved in a lot of church services, both the welfare services and also congregational level activities. But there's obviously still more to do. The Uniting Church itself is still trying to work through how best to train people in how to handle people who've got disabilities, etc. But we're certainly making progress. And I think the churches need to be acknowledged for at least trying to work on this issue and trying to improve their response.
Prabhu and Nancy Rahn, founders of the International Fellowship for the Handicapped, were in Australia recently, and they made a very interesting comment, saying the only hope for people with disabilities is Christ. Charity will take them to the grave, but Christ will take them to eternity. And then they stated that condescending attitudes form the biggest barrier to their equal participation in the body of Christ. Ministry to people with disabilities must start with the relationships, they said, not charity. Keith, how do we develop that?
I think that there's a lot more that churches can do in terms of actually setting themselves up as having a ministry to people with disabilities. I think that they need to make the conscious decision at parish council level or whatever to say we will be more welcoming. Now, going back to my experience on the government committee in 1981, what we were able to do is to bring about an improvement in building standards, very practical issue.
Yes.
A lot of our buildings are simply not all that accessible.
I know.
All new buildings have to be.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to retrofit the older buildings.
Yeah.
So I think there's a very basic issue of architecture. There's a basic attitude of being concerned, almost as though disability is contagious. And I think also there's a feeling of inadequacy that people will quite often say, well, look, we don't know how to cope with people with a disability. We don't know how to do the toileting or whatever. and so they feel uneasy. And of course, in a more general sense, there's a phrase that we use in church growth seminars on the families that keep the church doors open are the families that keep the church pews empty. In other words, you've got loyal families who are saying, yes, of course, we want to have strangers coming into our church services, but we don't want them making any changes. They've got to accept that the church as we run it. We don't want them coming in with new ideas for hymns or liturgy, etc. And I think the same thing applies to people with disabilities. In other words, it is the other. People that you don't really feel confident within yourself in being able to assist or to work with or whatever, or how to make the most of the gifts that they've got to offer. So I think there's a lot of education that still needs to be done. I think it's better than where we were back in 1981. I use that as the benchmark for the attitude towards people with disability. So we have improved, but we've still got a long, long way to go.
So what would you like to say to someone who's watching this video who would like to start up a ministry to other abled people?
I think what is so important is that those people then get in touch with Crossroads, because we've got all sorts of advice that we can offer as to how you could operate a particular group. So one of the values of Crossroads is that it's a clearinghouse for ideas. It generates ideas that people could follow up within their own locality. And the issue of disability is not going to go away. It's going to get more and more complicated. People are living longer. And so that we will expect there to be an increase of disability within the community. So I'm saying to people, this is a new mission field for you, and you've got to work out how you can reach them. And of course, the government is also anxious to get people out of their homes and into fellowship groups of one sort or another, get them integrated within the community. So we've got the Australian and state governments on our side, and Crossroads can give you valuable information.
Wow, great talking with you, Keith. I've really appreciated your insights, and thank you for all you're doing for Crossroads as its patron. God bless you. Cheerio for now. Well, here we are. And Crossroads has got many branches around Australia. Unfortunately, some of our branches in WA and also in South Australia are not operating as they did previously. But Queensland, Tasmania and Victoria seem to be doing reasonably well. Our branches in New South Wales, we have quite a few. As you'll see in these next few slides that we go through, we've got Dubbo and Lismore and Annangrove, that was the previous slide. And you'll see that we're at Mudgee, Newcastle. Later on, we might even get some of these branches to give us some input as well. Shoalhaven branch and the Tamworth branch, all fabulous branches. But listen, we need more. There's the Wesley Video Fellowship, there's the branch at Wollongong, but there's ample space to have more branches become part of Crossroads Christian Fellowship. One of the other things that we do in Crossroads is take people away for holidays, and these have been very popular. We've been to quite a few places, and it's accessible travel for all. And we provide local, national and international holidays, and they're just fabulous because we provide a holiday for someone with a disability, a holiday that they probably never get by themselves. We're able to take them away, and of course it's all about care and trust, and it's about experience as well. Great experiences that are had because we provide great helpers in this situation, and a good time is had. And it's about individual needs as well. Everybody is treated as a person, and we are loved both ways, by them and us to them. And our goal is simple: through individual care and support, to provide a fun holiday in exciting destinations. Well, that sort of sums it up. But if you'd like to contact us, and you can take a photo of this QR code that's on the screen before you now, you'll be able to get all the information you need. And you are needed. You're needed maybe if your church doesn't run an outreach to people with a disability. Think of Crossroads. It's a great organisation, and I commend it to you.